this day there, and it kept people off the airwaves. We now have another form of Section 31 when it comes to civil disobedience from law-abiding citizens. Most people will pay taxes, fair taxes, but this is a tax too far now for an awful lot of people. And it's only the start of other taxes coming along as well. The compulsory health tax, the broadcasting tax and all that. So I mean, the government are really putting on all the stops to beat this, because they know that if they're defeated on this, they will be defeated on other taxes as well. And it's okay, the likes of myself and Declan and other Sinn Féin from Sinn Féin opposing it locally and nationally. But it's people like you we need. You're the people that gave the message to the government in the local elections and frightened the life out of them. I mean, the Labour Party in Sligo was annihilated. Fine Gael lost an awful lot of seats, okay. The very same thing can happen again, but it's down to ye. We are just the mouthpieces for ye that's there. And if ye stick to your guns and we do our job and think that the campaign goes nationwide, we can defeat this tax, but it'll take a bit of resolve. The government, they want to pull out all the stops, scare stories. We have to have it. You won't get your water. You'll lose your allowance for children. As Declan said earlier on, when the bins were privatised many years ago, there was a waiver scheme there for people on low incomes and the marginalised and the poor and the sick. But where are they now? They're not there, they're gone. The very same will happen with the water when it's privatised if we don't stop it. And it's only the people of Ireland can stop it. Because Fine Gael will go straight ahead and keep on doing what they're doing. Labour are in a state, they have to go along with Fine Gael the rest of the way they're going. Because they know when there's an election in the morning, they're going to be annihilated, and they're hoping for these green shoots to become, I don't know what, beanstalks, you know, for the next general election. It's not going to happen. They'll get their answer. But as I said, it's down to us here to get organised, boycott the charge. Personally, at meters, I'm not allowing any meters into my house. But then again, my things in the back of my house. People said to me, it's very easy for you to go down to other people's estates and say, don't put a meter in. We don't go to any estates unless we're invited in, or people ask us to stand with them. The latest thing is now that the leaders that are trying to put an injunction and to stop anybody protesting against them. But we will deal with that thing as it comes along. But the next step of the campaign is the boycott paying for the water. As Declan said, they cannot turn your water off. You know what I mean? What are they going to do? They're going to give you a slap across the wrist and tell you to pay your water. So this is where we can get them. If there's mass mobilisation of people not paying their water, this will be defeated. And it will cost the government in the next general election, let me tell you. Water is going to be a huge issue with the next general election. Because people will be getting bills that, you know, that are metered and they'll see, it's not going to be 400 euros. It's going to be 5 and 6 and 7. Anybody with children, it's going to cost them an awful lot more than what the sale was. But these are all part of the lies. We still don't know what a unit of water we're going to charge for. And this is when the thing is, that was split about 8 or 900 million of money that was collected in the property tax. And we were told that money was for local services. It's not for local services. As Declan will tell you, the budgets for local services have been cut. And that money has been diverted off Irish Water, a private company, you know, we have no say in it. And the same thing will happen with Irish Water. It'll be privatised, as Declan said, if we don't oppose it. And then you're at the mercy of the so-called market. There's another story going around that water is just another service. We can do without electricity, you know, but you can't do without water. It's an essential thing we need in life. You can't wash without it, you can't live without it. And yet they want to privatise that. And somebody's going to say to you, just because you can't pay me £50 a month, you're saying, I'm going to turn your water down. Somebody that is maybe gone to Spain or somewhere else. That water belongs to the Irish people, as it always has done, and it should remain in the hands of the Irish people. And if we all stick together and do what we're going to do, oppose this, it will always be in Irish hands, okay? Yep. So I ask for big support in the next stage of this campaign, all right? On the 11th of October, there's a national march in Dublin, and we would urge people here in Sligo to come up. Yeah. There'll be a bus running in Sligo. It's a day that attended, they're very well attended marches. And show your feelings. It's one day of the year you can say to the government, this is a step too far. Yeah. And there'll be a huge turnout. And it's been organised by the unions, civic groups all around the country, and the different political parties, Sinn Féin, Declan's party, and other independents, you know. So it'll be a huge turnout. So if we could even have the people who are reported to people that attend from Sligo. It'd be like, I remember the property tax one up there, about 15,000 people, and RT said there was 2,000 at it, and had it on for about 3 seconds. You know, so let's give RT a kick of the ass too, alright?
Maybe we'll open it up a bit, so if anyone has any questions that they would like to ask.
I want to go back. Seamus, thanks a million.
Or if you went to the water company and, you know, all the lads that are around town, you don't phone them anymore, you phone Cork, and they take their orders from Cork. So they don't work for the county council anymore, they work for Irish Water. They've all been transferred over to Irish Water. I was just speaking to them today. I think we have one of the lads from the corporation here, and I'd say he'd verify that if he wants to speak. But yeah, so the work, it's pointless with the water. They work for Irish Water now.
And I just asked, if they have to close the road to put in the meter, do they need a road closing order?
No, I was sorry, I was talking to the county manager and he told me that they didn't need planning permission for anything. They can literally do whatever they want.
Can I ask, if you don't pay it, Shelley, and they reduce the pressure of the water, you get the pressure of the water, whatever, would it be sufficient enough to work a washing machine or have a shower or anything? Like, how long would they leave it? You basically have no amount of water to do anything. You know?
Well, it's like I said, I don't think they will. Okay. But this will do. It can be turned up the very same way it was turned down. You know, so it's simple. We have people involved there who volunteer to do that job if needed, you know.
Like I said, I'm in a rented accommodation, so it's not my house, and they've installed the meter already. So I got the pack just through the occupier, so I'm just sending it, return to sender.
Can you mind if I just say a couple of things about the pack? Would that be okay?
Yeah. Jeffrey's done quite a bit of research. He's been on Irish Water a couple of times. So he's got a decent
just answer your question, because it was on the Joe Duffy show. If you don't sign it in, it comes down to your landlord.
Okay.
So now you're going to see big landlord power coming into play against Irish Water. You'll see that happening pretty soon. So we'd say that you don't sign that and send it back to them. The landlord then is liable for that bill. So you're going to see stuff happen there. This is the pack that I got out today, and this is what I'm doing about it. Return to sender, no contract, no consent. Okay? Now what people are mainly afraid of is, what do we do if we send this back? What's going to happen to us? So I'm just going to tell you the story I had with this, okay? So when the guy was on with Irish Water on Ocean FM, and I did all my best to try and get on Ocean FM with him, but he wouldn't let me. Anyway, one of the things that he said was 2 million people are automatically customers of Irish Water. So I picked up on that and I rang the Department of Environment and I asked them about this and I says, could you direct me to the legislation where it says? They says, we can. So then I got on to the Taoiseach's office and I got on to the Taoiseach's private secretary and I talked to her about it and she was very nice now. Nice person. She says, I'm going to put you on to the people who wrote the legislation. So I got on to the woman who actually wrote the legislation for these contracts and for Irish Water. And what she told me was that Irish Water, in the legislation, everybody is automatically their customers. Okay? So I let her speak and let her speak. I says, okay, I'm one of the people who's involved in a group that are not going to pay Irish Water. What are you going to do to me? Right, she says, well, we're going to take you to court. I says, that's great. What are you going to take me to court for? She says, we're going to take you to court under contract law. I says, that's fair enough. I says, can you just please say that again? I wasn't trying to be cheeky with her. I says, just please say that again to me. She says, I'm going to take you to court under contract law, or they are. I said, what contract? And there was a bit of a silence on the phone, and she said, the contract. I said, what contract? I didn't sign any contract with Irish Water. There is no contract with Irish Water, so we cannot bring you to court because there is no contract. You have a contract with DSB. You have a contract with whoever you get your gas with or your coal with or anybody like that. There is no contract with Irish Water. So if they ask you, why aren't you paying, they're going to bring you to court saying, what are you going to bring me to court under? I didn't sign any contract with you. They can't force people. But if you open this up when you get it and you sign it, you're signing a contract. And don't be under any illusion that it's anything but a contract. On the 15th of September...
Sorry to interrupt you. What if people just bin them or burn them?
Yeah, do whatever.
It's fine.
Whatever.
Is that not classed as if you're signing a silent contract?
No, no. No, you have to give them your information. And I talk about the information that they actually want of this. I don't want to be hogging this, it's just that Sept did an awful lot of stuff on it.
That's the problem, you see, people don't know that.
Okay.
People don't know, people are signing it. Some people are signing it, and they say we're not paying, we might. But they don't know that. They don't know that information because they haven't heard it in the media, they haven't heard it anywhere.
Can't get on the media. I got on to Joe Duffy show last week.
I know.
To put on a poor girl that was talking about filling water with a bucket. It was embarrassing. I got on to the researcher, I said, it's embarrassing, please let me on. They won't let me on. I tried to get on to TV3 to the Vincent Brown show, but then I find out that Dennis O'Brien now is buying into the Vincent Brown show. Or sorry, into TV3, not just Vincent Brown. Into TV3, he's also buying into that. So every single place that you go, you're hit with this wall, and it's called Dennis O'Brien. Everywhere you go. Sligo champion, Dennis O'Brien. Ocean FM, not Dennis O'Brien, Noel Shannon. Noel Shannon is the Director of Communications with Irish Water. One of the leading shareholders of Ocean FM. This is fact, this is not fiction, you can look that up yourself.
Excuse me. Do we know if it's illegal to take your water meter out by yourself?
Can I answer that actually, because I spoke to an Irish Water representative, an executive. His name was Jim Sheehan, if anybody wants to look him up. And he informed me that it's a criminal offence to interfere with Irish Water property, and they will pursue you. That's Irish Water's stance on it now. Where the legal stance is, I don't know. That's just one man having a conversation with me.
Well, when I asked Irish Water that, because if you want to YouTube, there's a councillor up in Dundalk or Drogheda or somewhere that actually took it out. I said, Irish Water, why are you not prosecuting him? This is not up to us to prosecute him. It's up to the guards. And I said, well, at least why don't you put in a complaint about him? They don't want to do it because they don't want a test case. They don't want to bring anybody to court because they don't want a test case. Regarding these PPS numbers, on the 15th of September, on my Facebook site, I put up the data protection that Irish Water had on their site. On the 19th of September, I don't know whether they're looking at my site or not, or whoever, they changed it. I don't know if you know, on this site, it's on the 15th of September, it clearly shows that Irish Water is going to be sold. And that all the data that you get from people is going to be sold on to private companies, and all people's data is going to be outside the state. If you go onto my Facebook site, and thank God I put it up on the 15th of September because I can't get in and mess about with Facebook, you will see that is the original statement. This is the new one, washed down statement, but it still means the same thing. All your data, if you put in your PPS details, all your data is going to be stored outside the EU. They said it's going to be on computers here. It's not. They're going to be accessed from outside the EU.
It's going to be in China.
It's going to be anywhere that they want. There is no way that Irish Water can control 2 million PPS numbers. They haven't got the staff to do it. They already breached. And regarding your allowances, we see you do and you sign it all in. When you're getting your allowance, if your bill is not up to date, you will not get your allowance. And then they say, well, everybody will get €100. You'll only get 25 euros per quarter. And you have to go over to the supplementary welfare officer and you have to do a means test to get to 25 euros. This is the stuff that they're leaving out, that we can't get onto the media to tell people about. It's just disgraceful, absolutely disgraceful what this company is getting away with. Also, they're talking about people's bills. The average bill is going to be 268 euros per year if you're one person living on their own. What they didn't tell you that the government for the next 2 years till 2016 have a subvention of 500 million per year for Irish Water. And in 2016 the government is removing that 500 million. So your bills would at least double. I think they'll triple, but they'll at least double the bills. That's after, just go online, you'll see that the government, we're spending 1.2 billion a year on water. We're paying for water already. And if they say to you, we're paying too much for water, tell them we're paying 8.5 billion euros a year for the debt for taking out the Irish banks. 8.5 billion. Interest, that's not even touching the principal amount. That is just the interest, 8.5 billion. We take in 50 billion every year, 8.5 billion is going on interest, 1.2 billion is going on water. And the people that they're running Irish Water now are said it's going to do better. They're former county managers. They're after, it's a retirement home for county managers. Go and look at the people who's running Irish Water. He's the former county manager of Dublin.
John Tierney.
John Tierney, who left an absolute mess behind him. Waterford county manager. Don't be too surprised to see our own county manager, not the one now, the last one, turning up with them.
What's the role of the regulator then?
Regular is going to get a rubber stamp everything.
There was a regulator in the banks at one time as well. He walked away with 800,000 euros, you know.
They started off with 38,000 litres for every child. They went to the regulator and said, oh, we think it's too much, give us 21,000 litres. What did he do? Okay, fair enough. Where did they carry out their data? In the summer when everybody was away on holidays, and empty houses around the data the meters were installed in, they went back to the regulator and said, oh, this is the data that we're after getting from the houses. On the Marion Finucane show on Sunday, the former member of Borgosh came on and says that the ESRI backed it up. I contacted Marion Finucane show, showed them the front of the Sunday Times 2 months ago. ESRI says Irish water data is flawed. You think they'd read it out? I asked them to give a retraction on air. You think they'd read it out? Not a hope. Just go onto my Facebook site. Everything I'm saying here, you will see it.
Right. We have to frame just
regarding the names and addresses, some of the stuff I read was saying if it says on the envelope to the occupier that you're better off writing no contract, no consent. Just as regards, like, did they get legislation to get people's names and addresses? Like, can you talk about how they got the database of people to send the contracts that are going to be coming? And if it does have your actual name on it, are you just better off fecking it in the bin? Because
where are they getting that information
yeah,
from?
like, we want to know where they're getting some people's names.
I know my sister got one in Galway and her name was on it.
Yeah,
now, is that because she has a mortgage?
I think
is that because they have mortgages and then their names are going to be on the house?
Multi-state agencies.
But did they have like?
But the property tax, if you remember, when it came in, that was said that all that information was going to be kept, you know, confidential. But it has been used by Irish Water.
That's what I'm saying.
And I would also say Irish Water and trawled through the corporation's records, so I would say that. You know, they've had access to the
surely that's illegal too.
Well, sure, lots of things are illegal. You know, the water charge to me is illegal.
But the one there, then, are you better off, if it does have your name on it, would you be better off just not even sending it back with no contract, no?
Because you're helping them out.
Still, establish a contact with, you know.
Once you don't complete the form, will you send it back or burn it or rip it up? As long as you don't fill it in, you have no problem.
I would suggest that there should be a mass burning of the work, or to send them back to the
Yeah, bonfire night coming up. Halloween.
It would be a symbolic gesture, you know.
Some work.
It would be a symbolic gesture, you know, to say that.
Do it on bonfire night, a symbolic gesture.
But just go back to Jeffrey's point earlier when he says about the media, and you know, and I go back to it again. Whatever's happened in the media in Ireland, there is no dissent allowed on the national airwaves. Whether it's over the property tax, and now we have the water charges, the Greyhound dispute in Dublin, which was, you know, got very little coverage. There seems to be a censorship.
Well, whatever videos I have seen on Facebook, I've shared them to America and Australia, to all my friends, to whoever's around.
Only for social media would be a big problem.
There's another thing that people should be aware of, like people who are sick. People who are sick, Irish Water says you just have to tick a box. But what you didn't pick up from them, what you were saying, Elizabeth Arnett, is that we'll contact people when we feel like it. So they're going to be asking for people's private medical information. And the government are going to give them the go-ahead to do that.
But
it's just scandalous what they're doing.
But the one thing that they did say was anybody, which I thought was a bit low, anybody with skin problems and stuff like that, that they'll do allowance especially for them. So they were actually using that quote for, in other words, for people, scare tactics to get them to sign up. You know?
Right. Kind of talked a bit about it, but should we, all of us, there seems to be a sense that we're not really getting the word out to what the issue is. Maybe we should decide how we're going to push to get information to people on how, like, what are the steps that they should take not to.
Go around in cars and get Michael and shout out around the whole bloody town.
What about taking a break on the weekend?
We walk behind you and you just drive around and shout through the whole bloody country.
Leaflets.
Right.
But anybody that has any concern, ring the phone.
If everybody put their hand up for
John?
You could refuse to let them in. No, you couldn't get it all.
Irish water.
Oh, you can, yeah.
I suppose what's the town here about it? We go to court and we don't have a movement behind us, we lose in court. Because the judges in this country will back the property of Irish Water. If we go into court and we've thousands and thousands and thousands of people on the streets, we'll win in court because the judges can't beat people power. That's the way I think about this thing. So what we have at the moment is a national campaign. It's backed by some of the best unions in the country. Unite and Mandate are building a movement in Dublin. You have, Sinn Féin and people for proper, but that's not the most important part of this campaign. In places like Tallaght, Clondalkin, 16 or 17 estates in Cork, you have ordinary people going around each other's houses, knocking doors and saying to people, let's go to an impromptu street meeting, a democratic meeting where we discuss as a collective group what we're going to do. And at that, I think what we need to do is produce lots of posters that say, I am already paying for my water, or something like that. We are already paying for water. We refuse Irish water. Something, we'll think about what the message is. But we get them to everybody. We go around the estates, we knock on the doors, and we get people to come to the meetings and feel their own power. And then when we start feeling our power, then they'll be frightened because they're terrified. That's why they're bringing injunctions against us. That's why they're bringing the courts into it, because they know that they can't win if we actually, because it's meant to be a democracy, this country. So it should be our water, not their water. And I think that's the way we fight them. We fight them on that basis. Just one last point. 2,000 people marched in the street in Dublin on Saturday. That was just a Facebook campaign. Just through Facebook, 2,000 people. So that just shows you the depth of feeling out there for this stuff. This is rotten stuff where they're trying to treat very unequal people, very poor people, and very rich people in a supposedly equal fashion. We need to say water is for human beings. It should not be privatised. It should not be for profits. It should be for people's needs. As you need it, you use it, and that's the principle. And we pay for it civilised way through taxation. And we should go out and get that message out there confidently and build in every single community, including Sligo. So get to the meeting in October on the 11th. Get to the mass protest. We'll feel more confidence if we get a bus up there, and let's get into the communities and start building this.
My view that it can be very easily defeated and by people power, but also it's to convince the people that they can actually get out and do it. I mean, over in when we were over in Cranmore, it was easily done. Once people realised what was on their side, the whole neighbourhood stuck together and they had to pack up their tools and leave. Even down on my street, I very easily, I just told your man, I said, you've no right to interfere with that. And your man, the guard was there at the time saying, Gary, don't cause me trouble or anything like that. I said, well, hold on a second, under section 40, paragraph 5, the inviolability, the Home Act, you're actually interfering with the enjoyment of my home. If you want to dig a hole over there, dig wherever you want and jump into it. But don't interfere with my water supply. That's the same way that I can't say have a dog barking or a drum banging because I'm interfering with other people's enjoyment of their private property, which is their home. And that was okay. And I said, listen, this time I'm not even going to occupy it. I'm walking away from here. When I come back, I don't want you here. Simple as that. Okay, and then they didn't interfere with that. But then I said it to a few other women and women with young children, and they wanted to do the same thing. And then they saw the amount of workers that were there. They come on mass. They dig up things very quickly. They're not actually real workers. They're more demolition type men. And and they're basically making a lot of noise, very intimidatory for single mothers and mothers of young children and things like that. But the important thing is to show people that we can actually resist and we stick together and show even on Facebook people see people resisting and that because the law is there, even whether it's contract law or the Constitution. And even a guard said to me, did you, when I mentioned the Constitution, he said to me, did you just make that up? And I said, I just made up the Constitution there now to suit you. I said, what the fuck do you think? The Constitution's been there since the 20s. So there is a certain leeway there. So,
Thank you, Gary.
She's sorry to talk about people going to Dublin in March, but people are that short on money. It's something like 40 quid to take a train. Anyone on some of these, you're talking per day out for a person who's not working on 180, whatever, you're going to take a third of their money just to go to Dublin. And that's why you didn't get the crowd last Saturday. People just can't do it that way. And just one other point. The one point that should be pushed and pushed is not to sign the contract. And that's the one, because people will sign it and say we won't pay it. Sign it.
going back to what you said there about what the direction you should go from here. I think the direction you should go from here is education, a mass campaign of the facts. This is what you are entitled to, and this is what you don't have to do. My next door neighbour, the day Shamey came up where my meter was installed, Irish Water told me, yeah, we're coming up to take it out. I asked them to remove it. By the time I got to my house, I was told, no, we're not removing it, we have no choice. But my next door neighbour, when I said it to him, I said, are you going to allow him to install it? And he says, sure, we have to, we have no choice. And that's what I mean, is people have no understanding of what they're entitled to and what their rights are. So I think a mass campaign, like 2,000 people turned up in Dublin to march on Sunday by the strength of a Facebook page or a couple of Facebook pages. And I think if we can be concise and do a leaflet just listing what people's rights are and what to do with the water pack, I think that's a good way to go.
Yeah, I'm just going to read something off the internet here, just to give people an idea of what you're up against. You know, this really is down to people power and ourselves. We have no chance. I mean, a mass media campaign is just not going to work, right? We're not going to get that into the media, and I'll give you an idea why. Sierra, the installation company, right, is owned by SiteServe. That's the name of the company that owns it. It's the whole company. Just give me a second, right? SiteServe is a company that was in bother, actually, but anyway, it was bought out when it was in trouble by a company that's based in the Isle of Man called Millington. That's a holding company that's holding SiteServe, and SiteServe are the holding company holding Sierra. The senior shareholder in Millington is Dennis O'Brien. He has a stake in 68% of the Irish media and is currently bidding to take another 16%, or involvement in another 16%. And just to put it in perspective, right, people might say, what's interesting about that? Well, the company, I just said the company called Arthur Cox Solicitors that operates for Dennis O'Brien is also acting for SiteServe and is also acting for Millington. That's complete conflict of interest, right? The connection with IBRC, which is the former Anglo-Irish Bank, they'd given SiteServe a loan of 150 million, but they're only getting back 50 million. Now, we own Anglo-Irish, right? We own it now. They're only getting back 50 million because the government has instructed them to write off 100 million for Dennis O'Brien, right? And Dennis O'Brien, that's 20 million more than the 80 million that was collected in the household property charge. At the same time, the shareholders in SiteServe are going to pocket 5 million per person. So that turns their usual rules on debt on their head. Normally the shareholders are wiped out first, and secured lenders, which is what IBRC is understood to be in this case, tend to be top of the pile when it comes to prioritising repayment of debt. So that's what we're up against. You might say, what's that got to do? Well, we actually own it. We own IBRC is Anglo and Irish nationwide combined, which is owned entirely by the state, by the people. We're writing all this money off for Dennis O'Brien, who's going to inflict all these charges on us. And he's going to, by the time all this comes into place, he's going to have a stake in nearly 80% of the Irish media. So we're not going to get it into the Irish media. But that's the poisonous, sort of toxic, the conspiracy that's going on against people. So it's entirely down to ourselves. We have to do it from local estates right up, from our own streets, neighbours, talking to each other. That's the only way we're going to do it. So just for information.
Can I just say just a practical suggestion that to build on the feelings of the room? Everyone's pretty agreed that not engaging with the contract is the correct way to go. That's everyone in this room. That's only a tiny fraction of the people in Sligo. It's a drop in the ocean. So what we need, right, rather than just, rhetoric now, our bellies are filled with passion now tonight because we're all in the room, we're all angry with the government and what it's doing to the country. But we need, if we can people leave, and people who actually get involved. Now, we're not asking people to join any political parties, we're not asking people to do any commitment other than what they can, whether it's half an hour, 5 minutes, or if you want to do 48 hours a week, it's your business. But if people would like to leave their name and say, for example, we'll get a leaflet drafted up, whatever the people in the room wants to have, and you will go within your estate and drop that out. So if I got Kevin, for example, say, Kevin, here's 100 leaflets, you and your friend your estate. That's the only way we can practically build this, because we can't rely on Keep for Profit, Declan, Sinn Féin. We only have small fit numbers. we'll be happy to come along with you. If you want us to come along, we'll support you. But if people would be happy to just leave their name, and we can meet you with the leaflets and actually physically get something going to spread the message of the room tonight, you know?
Yeah.
Just based on the social media things that have been said, I'm actually not the biggest fan of social media anymore, but just a few things that I've learned from working with it a lot. So there's the Sligo Meter Watch page. If people like even just a status that's put up on that page, it reaches more of an audience from one person liking it. So if everyone was to like it, maybe like if there was 15 likes on it, it means it gets more organic reach. So just based on social networking, I don't agree with it. I think word of mouth is the strongest thing, but it is working. And also on the Sligo Meter Watch page, you can invite your friends. So like Marie, you can invite all your friends to like that page, and maybe that might get things moving a bit more on it as well. And just based on that. So.
Yeah.
I just I'd just like to welcome Jude Gilligan here. Jude was a spokesperson for the people from Cranmore who opposed he was one of the members of the committee that opposed the charges over there. He's a personal member of Cranmore.
Yeah, sorry. I think the main reason people are going to, a lot of people are opposed to this charge a lot more than we see here. I think people do feel like there's nothing they can do, and they're afraid that their water is going to be shut off. Yeah. And that fear is what's going to cause people to send that contract in. Yeah. And I think when you mentioned earlier about that there's going to be community activists, a group of people who have the technical knowledge to turn the pressure back up, that would be a really, really important part of the campaign, of defeating the campaign for water charges down the line. And I think we just need to get that information out there as well, that there is going to be a number you can ring or somebody you can get a hold of that's going to reverse any turn down in your pressure, that's going to make your water usable, so that to remove that fear from people. And also, I don't know how many people there are that have the technical knowledge, but if we can increase the amount of people that if whoever has the knowledge can bring other lads like myself that wouldn't have the knowledge but would be willing to go around and learn, so that there's more than a handful of people that you can ring. If they can't, if people don't pay, and then they can't stop them, and they can't force them to pay by turning off the water, because if people do need the water, and they will break under that pressure, and they'll forego heating their house or food or whatever. People that like myself that can't afford this charge they need their water, and that's the number one thing they're going to need. And if they are going to get their water to be shut off, that's what will break them. And I just think that's going to be a key thing, is to get in.